breaking, developing news. Unfortunately, it goes right back around to everything earlier this week, learning that the former CEO of the WWE, Vince Kennedy McMahon, has now resigned from TKO the day after an ex-employee files a lawsuit. And just looking at some of these headlines, if you just Google WWE, you don't even have to scroll down. USA Today has a headline of WWE's Vince McMahon resigns after being accused of sex trafficking assault. NESN reports Vince McMahon resigns from all positions at TKO/WWE. Bleacher Report has updated 2024 Royal Rumble, so they have one Royal Rumble card. Two, a lot of it's about Vince McMahon. And it seems to me, okay, within this past year so far, somehow, some way, shape, or form, every time we get to a closer, a big moment like WrestleMania, I mean, you saw what happened last year at WrestleMania. Vince McMahon stepped in at, the day after WrestleMania concluded. And instead of wanting to talk about all of these matches and all of the hype and everything that transpired over 2 days, we ended up having to settle for Vince McMahon selling the company. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it just seems like here lately, every time WWE had something great to talk about, they just seem to take a few steps back because Vince McMahon finds himself in the news, whether it's good or bad. This one's pretty bad. Now, we know over the last few years that Vince McMahon has had some office issues that has probably led to selling the company and one thing that we're most certain about Vince McMahon is that he's always standing by his statement. He will always defend, and regardless, I don't want to say this is a positive thing, but he does pretty well for himself when he defends. This is the article that was written by Matt Copinger on ESPN yesterday, actually last night. The headline was Vince McMahon resigns from TKO day after ex-employee's lawsuit. And it goes on to say, and I'll end up sharing this on our Facebook page, it goes on to say Vince McMahon, who co-founded the modern WWE in 1982, has resigned from his role as a TKO executive chairman and from his position on the TKO board of directors. He said in a statement provided to ESPN Friday night. Now, this is all, don't forget, beginning of this week, we had Dwayne Johnson joining the board of directors, which I thought was a big move. But now we see this. Vince McMahon, because of these accusations, has resigned. McMahon, 78, leaves the publicly traded company, which was formed when UFC merged with the WWE last year, following a lawsuit filed Thursday that accused him of sexual misconduct. And I'm like, oh no, what are we getting into again? In the lawsuit, Janelle Grant, who worked in the WWE's legal and talent department, alleges that McMahon forced her into a sexual relationship in order for her to obtain and keep her job and passed around pornographic pictures and videos of her to other men. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm reading this article for the very first time. And so if you're listening to some disturbing things, I'd pre-warn you. I mean, I know this is kind of late notice, but I pre-warn you. I did not know what I'm reading into, but this is legit matter. This was a lawsuit filed on Thursday by Janelle Grant, a ex-employee in the legal department, who was forced to do some sort of sexual relationship in order to keep her job. She also had to distribute pornographic pictures and videos to her of her to other men, including other employees. The lawsuit, which was filed in U.S. District Court in Connecticut, where the WWE is headquartered, also names WWE and John Laurinaitis, the company's former head of talent relations and general manager, as defendants. Grant alleges abuse and sexual exploitation beginning in March of 2020. It's around the pandemic. And the lawsuit, including several text messages, screenshots, and purported to be McMahon's asking for depraved sexual acts. In a statement written and given by McMahon himself, I stand by my prior statement that Miss Grant's lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene, made-up instances that never occurred, and this is vindictive distortion of the truth. McMahon goes on to say, I intend to vigorously defend myself against these baseless accusations and look forward to clearing my name. However, and this is where he gets down to resigning. However, out of respect for the WWE universe, the extraordinary TKO business and its board members and shareholders, partners and constituents, and all of the employees and superstars who helped make the WWE into a global leader it is today, I have decided to resign from my executive chairmanship and the TKO board of directors, effective immediately. So, where do you even begin to kind of let this all sink in? Because, as a matter of fact, I had Steve from Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast was the one who shared this article with me. Not this article, but I believe he's the one who shared about Vince McMahon being, he's the one who brought up the accusation, the other lawsuit. He's the one who, shared a link about the resignation. And I have such mixed emotions right now going on when you are so in bed set on a company. It's like telling you that the Cincinnati Bengals is nothing but a lie or a scam or a cheat. That in the open, they are these go-lucky, goody-goody, couldn't do nothing wrong team, successful, but behind the scenes they're cheating. They're doing things that they're taking money from fans. I don't know where to begin. As a wrestling fan, I grew up on the WWE, and this is nothing new. We've seen allegations before. But to continue to see them, to continue being associated with the WWE, and no matter how far away Vince McMahon gets away from WWE or TKO, this is always going to come back around and leave some sort of image on the WWE itself, because this is what he's known for the past 40 years. WWE, when you think of World Wrestling Entertainment, hell, for the matter of you thinking of professional wrestling itself, you can't help but think of Vince McMahon, the guy who created the industry that it is today. And Then to see behind closed doors that, yeah, I mean, we knew he wasn't a, perfect, good Christian saint, who's done nothing wrong. But to see the levels of explosion that he's given among staff members, even recently, it's not like these are, cases that happened in the 90s or early 2000s, where, you know, you'd probably be common to seeing most of this stuff, occur. This is 2020, less than 4 years ago, during the pandemic. And I mean, regardless if he's innocent or not, this just it almost it just puts a bad image on the McMahon family. It puts a bad image on the WWE. Now, luckily, we're sitting at a spot where the WWE, I think, is thriving, where they can definitely bounce back for something like this. Now, if this was 2 years ago, and where with how the WWE was, then I don't know. In all honesty, but it just sucks because you kind of are inspired. You got inspired by one of the most successful businessmen in the world. I mean, for the last 40 years, and to seeing that he's nothing but a corrupted figure now, it's like, how can you even how hold these conversations? And it's hard. It's also a very tough, a touchy subject, because we're dealing with accusations, we're dealing with, sexual misconduct, we're dealing with legal pursuit. And I most certainly definitely don't want to give you guys the wrong information. This article, we're talking about investigations to the 2022 admit allegations in those lawsuits. Nick Khan, I wanted to inform you that Vince McMahon has tendered his resignation from his position as TKO executive chairman and on the TKO board of directors. WWE President Nick Khan told all staff in a memo obtained by ESPN on Friday night he will no longer have a role with TKO Group Holdings or WWE. So this is now, the right direction, obviously. Who knows? I mean, how much of this was, McMahon knowing, hey, listen, this is not your guys' battle. I don't need to drag you guys underground, which I would love to think that maybe that's how he approached it. Or this was TKO saying, all right, we had enough. It's before we take action against you, you have the option to just walk away. And this was, one of the probably most certain reasons why he even decided to sell the company to TKO, nonetheless, to anyone else. The Time movement. I know, you've heard interviews and statements saying that, oh, this is just part of business. It's time to go. And I'm sure, listen, if he didn't get rid of it years ago, what made you think he was going to get rid of it now? But as these lawsuits still come forth, because this isn't going to be the last one, we will keep you informed. Any other developing breaks in this story, we will definitely let you know here. But, man, right around the Royal Rumble,